Hello, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the J Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Nowakowski, joined once again by Mr. George Martin. How you doing today, George?
I'm doing all right. What's up?
Oh, we got some NBA talk. It'll be a little depressing because our Lakers are out, but we got first round's almost over except for one game, and second round starting up, and we got some playoff basketball to talk about. Yes, George is all for it.
I'm locked in for the playoffs. Favorite time of the basketball year.
He is, and if you don't follow him on Twitter already, you need to because his Twitter's been going crazy the past 2 days. But we'll just get straight on into it. George, you want to start out in the East or in the West?
Let's start with the East because I feel like the West has a lot more to offer.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll start in the East. So when I ended my last podcast, I gave my prediction on the Nets-Bucks series. I told you Bucks in 6. And game 1 was today. Advantage Brooklyn Nets with no James Harden. Brooklyn was just the better team, really. Just most of the game. Bucks made a run towards the end, but it ended up being 115-107 Brooklyn. Just quick thoughts. I know you watched the game, George. What do you see in this one?
Bucks rotation. I had a problem with it. I've been a big Bud hater the last few years, but their starting lineup only played 13 minutes together, and I felt that was really problematic because they outscored the Nets by 3 in those lineups. They did really well in the first. They went up almost double digits, and I thought it was looking towards like a blowout when James Harden went out, and then they're bringing in guys like Jeff Teague and playing Pat Connaughton big minutes, which I get they kind of have to now because of Dante's injury, but I just felt like, I feel like Giannis wasn't played enough at the 5. He only played 35 minutes, which is the same amount of minutes that Blake Griffin played. And I kind of have a problem with that. Like, you're in a playoff game. You should be playing your starters 40 minutes unless someone has to get pulled to get played off the floor. But Nets, they survived without Harden. I don't know if he's going to come back this series. That's the 3rd time he's re-aggravated this injury. So we'll have to see. I'm not going to speculate on that. But their offense looked good. It was clicking well. Katie and Kyrie were great, and that's what they're going to have to do to win this series.
I agree on all fronts. I got to watch the game, and I think Bud's rotations were very questionable, and Jeff Teague shouldn't be out there for big minutes, really. I don't understand why he was, but he was. But yeah, Brooklyn took game 1. I said Bucks in 6. I'm guessing your prediction was you had the Bucks winning as well?
In 7, yes, I did. I thought this was going to be one of the most – I still think it will be one of the more competitive series. Kind of looking like – coming into it, I thought it would be the biggest one, the most hype one. I still think it holds that. And I feel like this Bucks team really has the best shot at knocking off the Nets. And I also think whoever wins this series is going to win it all, honestly. So that's okay. Where I'm at on this.
Okay, fair enough. So you each have the Bucks. You have them in 7. I have them in 6. But yeah, I said it. If the Bucks got past the Heat, I had them in the finals. Because you're playing you're facing your Demons first round. I thought they would be able to take on the Nets and take that size advantage, but it didn't happen game 1. But it's still an early series, so no need to worry just yet, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I felt like the Heat were kind of their biggest mental hurdle, just the way they kind of got dominated by them last week. And they got over it, steamrolled them in 4 games, and I thought that's going to be the team that's going to play them the toughest defensively out of the remaining road ahead. They just came out flat. They were horrible at shooting, which kind of plays a part of the Nets defense because they didn't want to let like Giannis, Brooke, and Drew get all inside and drive. So they kind of just let them shoot threes, and they were horrible. I think they were like 6 for 30, which they're a really good shooting team. So I don't see that happening again. I feel like there's a few tiny adjustments the Bucks have to make next game, and I think they'll win. And I think if they're able to shoot, Bud's good with his rotations, a lot to ask. I feel like they're looking good, especially if Harden's down the whole series, which we'll see.
Yeah. So you're right. 6 of 30 from 3 for the Bucks, compared 15 for 40 for the Nets. They shot 38% from 3. And then another just point out is the free throws. The Bucks 11 of 19. We know Giannis struggles at the line sometimes, but you want to see him shoot better than 58% in a game from the line. But yeah, long series, still got a lot to go. So hopefully the Bucks can get back on track, because I have them moving on, and I would like to see them move on. But the other East series, this one has gotten really interesting over the past few days with the development of Joel Embiid, and it's a partially torn meniscus, correct?
Yes, it's not fully torn. It's just a small tear.
So it's a small tear. He's day-to-day. He's listed as questionable for the game tomorrow morning, which the podcast will be out about an hour before tip-off. Game is at 10 a.m. tomorrow on the West Coast. But yeah, Hawks and Sixers. I had in my original bracket prediction, so I got this one right, and I picked the Sixers in 7.
Okay.
I had it going that far.
Let me pull up what I had.
Okay. But yeah, I'll just say my piece. And you could totally disagree with me. But I think without Embiid, the Hawks have the same offensive firepower, if not more, to play with the Sixers. I mean, we saw it against the Knicks, who were, a tough defensive team all season. And I mean, no Embiid, these games, I think they're going to be closer. I think they're going to be close, good games. What do you think about that?
So I really didn't have a prediction on this. I had the Knicks advancing, and then I did my second, because I did a full bracket. I didn't do round by round, but it's fascinating because the thing with Embiid is I feel like he's going to be out there, but he's going to be severely limited on the perimeter, especially. And I feel like if Trey, they have Capella set him screens. Yep. I feel like Embiid's just going to drop, because if he goes up to the perimeter, he'll get blown by. And Trey's really good with his floaters, so I feel like it's going to be interesting. And just he's 7 foot, 208. I don't know. People are saying like 300 pounds. I don't know if he's that heavy. And he just the way his play style, this type of injury, it won't help the way he plays. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know if I want to pick the Hawks. Like, the Sixers have the experience. If Embiid's out there, I kind of want to feel like he'll be decent enough to play. But I mean, the Hawks will have defenders to defend Toby and Ben, and Capella against a compromised Embiid could go crazy. We've seen Capella go deep in playoff series with the Rockets, and he's been effective. So I don't know what I want to do here. I'm gonna go Sixers in 7, and it's kind of a cheat because by then it's a pick'em series. Like whoever, it goes to 7. It can be whoever, but I'm gonna stick with Philly.
Okay. Fair enough. I kind of see it as we saw Anthony Davis in Game 6. I think they're gonna try to go right at him on defense, and on offense, he's probably gonna be hesitant to do any post moves and bang with Capella. And Capella's totally open to banging with Embiid though on the other end. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, and if he re-aggravates that injury, if he tears his meniscus, I mean, then he could be out for the series in the season, and then that series is a coin flip.
And it's just interesting because I obviously don't know how healthy or not healthy he is, but just seeing like with what happened with AD, and you have to weigh the pros and cons. And with Embiid, health has been an issue for him, and another knee injury to a guy who's 7 foot. I don't think he's had many knee injuries, but just an injury like that, if it worsens with a guy like him, I mean, you have a title window right now, and if he gets a long-term injury, it could close that window. So they're gonna have to play it safe. I'd almost want them to keep him out a game or two just to test his mobility.
Yeah,
and, see if he can even move laterally. Because the thing with AD, he couldn't jump, he couldn't move to his right. I mean, he even said it he couldn't move laterally, and we kind of got ridiculed for him going out there, but I know AD really wanted to be out there, so it's kind of just like a let him go out there thing. But I don't know. We'll see what they do.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But I mean, that would be how weird would it be to say that at the All-Star break you'd say, well, the Atlanta Hawks are in the make the conference finals. They were the 13 seed in the All-Star break.
But in a season like this, nothing like that seems unreasonable anymore.
Very true. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this series though, because I mean, with the way the Hawks and Knicks were chirping, and we know the Sixers love to talk. I mean, I think it's got to be kind of the same talking back and forth, and I'm excited for this series. But in the West, we had no Lakers comeback. It didn't happen. They lost Game 6 to the Suns. My finals pick is down the drain, gone. But we do get the Nuggets and the Suns. So, George, just give me your thoughts on how you think this series is going to go.
Yeah, this will be interesting again because Jokic did say that Ayton is one of the guys who defends him the best. So we'll see. I think Jokic is kind of just a mismatch and nightmare. But for this series, again, it's going to come down to the backcourt play. Obviously, the Nuggets are going to be without Will Barton and Jamal Murray. And, you're going to have Chris Paul and Devin Booker. And here's the thing. Last series, we thought Dame and CJ were going to terrorize the, and even though Dame had 55 in some series, it wasn't enough. But I think with the Suns, they also have better wings than Portland does. So I'm going to go with Suns in 6 here. I'm betting against the MVP, but I just don't know if Denver has enough firepower to combat with what the Suns have.
Yeah, I keep going back and forth on this series because part of me is like, I don't know if Denver has the firepower. But then they had it to beat the Portland Trailblazers, who are all offense, no defense. But the Suns are a much better defensive team than the Trailblazers are. I'm with you. I think I'm going to take the Suns, but I'm going to take them in 7. Okay. I think that's where I have them, is Suns in 7. But yeah, if Campazzo and Rivers show up like they did in the first round, Monte Morris, other than missing clutch free throws, we were sitting there at Game 5. I was watching with Lehman and Rhodes at my house, and Josh goes, "Just miss the free throw for the culture." Misses the free throw. Dame hits the 3. Like that game was absolute madness. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to pick the Suns. Just they beat the defending champs. Booker played great. They start hitting their shots later in the series, and but I think this will be another good one. A lot of offense, some high-scoring games, but I do think Phoenix has better defensively than Portland was. So I think that I'll give the advantage to the Suns. But I mean, do you want to do a little Lakers talk? A little sad Lakers talk here?
I mean, I'm not. This might sound weird coming from me, but it wasn't the worst-case scenario to go out like we did. I mean, if you look, even if we somehow gloriously won the series, I mean, AD's health, he was so many injuries, and we never had a chance to see the full potential. I mean, 71-day off season, guy diving into LeBron's ankles, random COVID protocols. AD was never in shape after all the beating he took, in those last finals games, and there just wasn't really any like legit chance we were going to win. I mean, we saw like those last 5-6 games we went on a win streak, and then LeBron never looked right with his ankle, AD getting hurt again. It was just the same stories happening again and again. So I'm all right with it. I kind of tempered my expectations coming into the postseason just because I didn't know what was going to happen, and we won last season, so I was kind of like okay with what happened.
Yeah.
But moving on, a way longer offseason than last year. We'll see what happens in free agency. I'm very excited for that in our draft pick. I think it's going to be we're going to be way more involved than we were last offseason, which we'll see because we were pretty involved last offseason.
Yeah. I want to talk a little offseason. I'm in the same boat as you on that. Of course, it's always disappointing to see your team go out in the playoffs, especially the Lakers being the defending champs. But, yeah, they get a full offseason to heal, LeBron and AD. And, yeah, the front office moves that are going to be made, I think I tweeted at you who I want the Lakers to pick. So with where I'm coming from is he won't be there at 22. I feel like we might trade up a few because – I don't know if you've known anything about Book Knight. I know a lot about him because he went to UConn. He's a guard that gets to the rim and he can shoot well. So I'm like, that's a guy that kind of would fit a LeBron-made team, but I would love to see him on the Lakers. But what are some like specific offseason moves you want to see the Lakers make?
So if we do end up selecting someone in the draft, I know last year we traded our first-round pick. I wouldn't mind any of the Butler guards or wings, Davion Mitchell or Jared Butler. Very defensive guards. They can shoot as well. I think and then moving just into free agency trades or, signings, shooting. I mean, that's been a thing, honestly, even last year. We won the title. I think we shot like barely league average from three, maybe even less.
Yeah.
And this playoffs, I don't even know if we hit 30% from three. And, when you have LeBron, he's always had to acquire shooters, guys like Ray Allen, he had Kyle Korver in those last few Cleveland years, Mike Miller, and just, here, I don't know, KCP, even Wes Matthews wasn't as great as he's usually been. So guys like Doug McDermott, I've even seen CJ McCollum because I think Portland's going to blow it up. Those could be interesting. Malcolm Brogdon, maybe if we don't, retain Schroeder. So it's going to be interesting. I think I did see, Rob does kind of want to keep, a pretty big core of this year's team, only because we were kind of stripped of the potential and chemistry because we never had time. And this team, when fully healthy, was 21-7 to start the year, 21-6.
Yep.
So it's not too crazy if we don't do much, but I definitely think shooters will be brought in. I think that has to be addressed for sure, no matter what, if we overhaul the roster or basically stay the same.
Yeah, I'm with shooters. I know you and me have had the conversations on Twitter about Miles Turner and those trade rumors, and I know that makes us like really excited because we both are big fans of him and just everything he brings. So I'll let you kind of explain. I mean, for people who don't know, if this were to happen, what does Miles Turner bring to the table for the Lakers? I
mean, you'd have two of the best, interior shot blockers in the league. I mean, just imagine, you'll have like LeBron up on the wing chasing a guy off, AD standing right there, and a guy tries to go around AD, Miles Turner comes over for a block. I mean, nobody would get inside. He's an incredible interior defender. He's good on the perimeter and space when you need him to be. And just like he can also space the floor, which helps tremendously for AD, down low offensively. And he can shoot at a pretty good rate. I never got to look it up, but I'm pretty sure he's like maybe 38%. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but because, spacing has been an issue late in the season, and he brings better defensive tendencies, I think, than what Drummond did. So, and he can rebound, which I know AD was like, that's kind of why we brought in Drummond to rebound. So I feel like that fit is perfect defensively. The price is remained to be seen. Could be a lot. And if it's too much, I know Rob has balked because those Lowry trade rumors, they were asking for a lot, 3 players and even a pick maybe. So yeah, he's going to be smart. I know, I have faith in Rob, so I'm really not worried.
Okay. Just those Turner numbers. So he shot 47% from the field, 33.5% from three, and averaged almost 3.5 blocks.
Those blocks are incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember, I think it was the Access Sportsnet guys talked about it. One big difference from this Lakers team, that won the championship in this year was of that interior defense. You had McGee and Howard. So the wings would just drive guys to the hoop, and they had big guys there to just block anything that came into the paint. And you didn't really get that a lot this year. I love Trez. I love his energy, but he's an undersized center. Drummond wasn't a great shot blocker. I mean, he had some blocks, but he wasn't, what McGee and Howard were by any means. And Gasol is not much of a shot blocker. But yeah, if we could bring him in, then you could go back to that style of drive the guys off the 3-point line. If you get blown by, you have giants behind you, But yeah, that's one name I saw floated out. And I've seen Lillard's name, but I don't see him getting. I see CJ getting traded before they trade Dame. I mean, and I don't think they would trade both, unless you agree with that? Okay, because I've seen where they just blow at where it's everyone goes, and I'm like, I don't think they're gonna do that.
A small market like Portland can't avoid they can't afford to send away their franchise guy for like, a early draft pick or like some young raw like prospect. Like, you're gonna lose all your fans, all your revenue, because Dame kind of just like he keeps the fans coming back every year and selling out their arenas, which in small markets some of them care more about that than because they're not gonna like go way over the luxury tax to keep teams together unless they're severely like championship contenders. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be doing what Dame wants, and even then, I don't know, maybe he doesn't want CJ traded, so we'll see. I feel like he'll have a lot of word put into the moves for that team.
Yeah. Okay. And wow, interesting. I'm just seeing a thing that the Blazers plan to heavily pursue Karl Anthony Towns this offseason. Oh wait, that's by Stephen A. Smith. So I don't know how accurate that one is. Don't quote me on that one, guys. But that's interesting. Oh no, the Lakers are interested in signing Kelly Oubre.
That's not even close to being right.
Oh, please no. But yeah, I would agree with that. I did see like people, they're putting out their theoretical trades and everything. And I saw one and I was like, I don't know, like it on paper it sounded one-sided, but then I thought about it more and I was like, I don't know, maybe it could work. And that was OKC swapping guards with Portland, swapping CJ or Dame for Shy. And I was like, I don't think the Thunder would want to do that. I don't know. But that was just an interesting one. But on getting back to the Lakers, just specifics, do you think Schroeder comes back?
So I think at the right price he will. And I say that even if we like necessarily don't want him, I think we have to sign him because we're hard capped right now and we could use it as either a sign and trade or just a trade at the deadline, because I feel like it would be malpractice if we just let him walk, because we're over the cap right now. So at the worst, you sign him, you have him play half a season, and if you still don't like him, you trade him for someone you want, because a $12 to $15 million deal, which I don't think he's getting 25. Maybe he can get 18. Even that you can use it in a trade, in a midseason trade. So I think in some form he'll be back. Who knows how long though.
Okay, I like the idea of the sign-in trade in the offseason. Another big person, a lot of people aren't talking about it, but I think it needs to be said. Caruso is an unrestricted free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Teams are going to offer him good money. I know he'd said, I think at his walkaway interview, playing with stars is important to him as well. So that obviously tends to, okay, he likes LA. He wants to play with LeBron and AD, but he's not just going to be paid nothing. And you want Caruso back, correct?
I actually think he's going to be the first guy we bring back. I think he's that important to this team. Him and THT are going to be the two first guys that are brought back. And honestly, I think outside of those two guys, anyone else is, tradable on the block. I think Caruso and THT are definitely going to be two of the guards we want to retain. And then, you can look elsewhere for cheaper veterans if you end up, going away from Schroeder. Because basically the most important thing with the Lakers is like wings, defensive wings. Because like if you look at bigs, I mean, AD plays the 5 anyways in the playoffs, so you really only need like a regular season guy there. And I just think wings, especially in the West, are very important. You have to have the right ones that can shoot and defend. So
okay, yeah, I like that. And then do you think I don't think he is, but do you think Montrezl Harrell's going to opt into his contract? It's $9 million.
I don't know. I mean, he kind of lost. I'm not going to say he lost himself a lot of money, but his role at the end of the season diminishing might not help him. So I don't know. Maybe he decides to opt in for one more year. That one I'm very iffy on. I honestly don't know, because I think he was a little bit mad at how he was used in the last few weeks of the season.
Oh, I would have been too. I would have been pissed if I were him.
So I don't necessarily know if that makes him mad enough to walk, or if he sees a bigger opportunity at hand, like, hey, I can run it back, health permitting, we can go deep, and then he can get himself another bag next season. But I honestly don't know.
Okay, I saw it last year, and I saw it pop up again this year with Charlotte. Again, they popped up last year, and I've heard they're going to pop. If he declines, they're going to pop in again. So, I mean, yeah, his role really diminished, and it wasn't really it wasn't his fault. It was more they wanted to play Drummond. Gasol started playing better when they were giving him minutes, and that just kind of bummed Montrezl out because he was the undersized center.
Yeah,
but like whenever he was out, at least in the playoffs, the Lakers went on runs, and he brought good energy. Even though, and there were a few times he was out there when Ayton was out there, and Ayton would score, but the Lakers would come back and score. So I really liked Montrez. I I I don't think he opts in though. I think he's just too pissed off, and he deserves to play. So I could see why he wants to walk, but it'll be interesting to see what he does because he definitely lost some money during by the end of the season. And the Lakers and Vogel keep saying Andre Drummond is a big part of this team's future. I'm calling BS. I don't, and I hope it's not true. I'm guessing you're hoping he is not back as well.
Listen, man, if he is back, I'd hope that if Gasol's still there, he at least gets minutes. I think for a regular season, he's honestly fine. But just in the postseason, I don't like his style of play, and I get it. Nobody's going to have a guy on there that you can only use in the regular season. That's kind of dumb, but I don't mind him there, but I just know that in the postseason, him not playing at all is kind of stupid to have him on the roster.
Yeah, fair enough. I only really want him back if he's on the bench, which I doubt he would be coming off the bench. But like if we somehow landed a Miles Turner or someone, and then it's like, hey, here's a vet minimum if you want to stay with us, Andre, or whatever it is. But I don't want him starting with Anthony Davis. They seem to figure it out a little bit, but like I don't want that to be an issue at all next season. So I think he walks. I think it's the Shanghai Sharks or someone will offer him some sort of vet minimum to play for the team. But yeah, we'll get into more offseason talk with other teams later, but just do some Lakers stuff because it'll be interesting because there are guys, KCP is on the block, Kuzma's on the trade block probably, and basically everyone but LeBron, AD, and then Caruso and THT. If they can get them back, they aren't trading them. But the other series, it's undecided, so we'll do two theoreticals.
All right.
So it's the Jazz. They're for sure locked in. They took down the Grizzlies, even though the Grizzlies fought close games every time. And it's either going to be the Clippers or the Mavericks. Game 7 is Sunday, 12:30 in LA. The road team has won every game. So first, Game 7, who do you think wins?
I'm going to go away with the trend that's been happening in this series. I'm going to take the Clippers, the home team. The home team hasn't won the game this series. So, yeah, I have the Clippers there. I know the Mavericks have kind of just been playing like unprovoked at Staples, but I feel like a lot of the Clippers role players haven't been well at all this series, and I feel like it's just a Game 7. Anyone can get randomly hot, and if you look at the Game 7 they lost last year in the second round, Jamal Murray had 40 or 50. Jokic was hitting one-legged step back like threes and stuff, and I know that's kind of part of his game, but Game 7, everyone says anything can happen, and I just feel like their role players are going to get scorchingly hot for one game out of this 7-game series.
Okay, fair enough. I'm taking the opposite as you. I'm taking the Mavs. So I'm taking the away team wins every game.
Side note, I want the Mavs, but I just think the Clippers are going to win.
So the only reason I'm saying that is last game. So towards the end, the Clippers pulled away, but up until about the 3-minute mark, it was a 3-point game or something like that. So, and Luka played bad. Luka didn't have a great game. His shooting wasn't great. So I'm expecting Luka to have a better game. And the Mavs role players really showed up. Tim Hardaway played well. Finney-Smith. Even Porzingis had a decent game. And Brunson was Brunson. He had a great game as well. So if those guys play, what they did in Game 6 and Luka shoots a little bit better, the Mavs win that game. And, Luka's been tearing them up at Staples. So I'm going to take Luka and the Mavs. I would love to see it happen because, George, on a Friday night when the Lakers lost, there were a lot of Clipper fans talking, and it would be nice to just be like, "Hey, karma's a bitch."
Yeah, man. I need any team besides the Clippers and the Nets to win this title. Utah would bug me a little bit, but Clippers going out in the first round would help, just because both of the late teams went out. So just be like, that's done with. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Okay, yeah, I totally agree. But theoretical, so let's go yours. Clippers win Game 7. We're sad. Clippers Jazz. Who do you have in that 7-game series?
Can't believe I'm saying this. I'm gonna have the Clippers making their first Western Conference Finals.
Oh,
I say this because I just feel like the wings of the Clippers can give the wings of the Jazz some problems. And I just feel like I don't know how Gobert would defend, because Kawhi getting to his mid-range and then some pick and rolls that they do. And also, Mike Conley's a little bit compromised. So I feel like that might hurt them in a series like this, even though in my next prediction, I'm not going to have it hurting them as much. So I'm going to go with the Clippers. I'm going to go with, I guess, the not fancy pick, but yeah.
Okay. I actually think Utah would win this. I think it's going to be close. I'll say Utah, and I'll say it's going to be probably 6 or 7 in that series as well. But I think, Mitchell, they've gotten some rest to get healthy. I think Conley's had some time to nurse his injury. Hopefully he'll be okay for the series and it won't re-aggravate or anything. And then, Gobert is an issue that it's a concern because Kawhi is automatic from mid-range. And I think that will be an issue, but hopefully the Jazz, I think they're going to have some hot shooting. Clarkson, Ingles, and Bogdanovich, those guys, I think they're going to have some hot shooting. So I'll take the Jazz, but other one, the Mavs win Game 7. We laugh, and it's Mavericks Jazz in the second round. Who do you have in this one?
Then I'll be taking the Jazz, and for this reason, Jazz are a really, really great shooting team, as well as the Clippers are just as good as them. So I feel like that series is a little bit more equal, like shooting-wise.
Yeah.
In this one, the Jazz will honestly just shoot the lights out on the Mavericks. Mavericks don't really do well defending the 3. And, Kristaps hasn't been great at all, so I feel like Rudy Gobert kind of just takes advantage of him. So, that's why I picked the Jazz, and I think it would probably be like a 6-game series.
Okay, yeah. It's interesting, though, with the three-point shooting, because the Clippers had the number 1 three-point shooting, and the first, really 3 games, they shot awful from behind the line, which was really weird because it wasn't like they were missing wide-open threes. The Mavs weren't playing good defense. They were just missing their shots.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think the Jazz, I want to say the Mavs so bad. I want to pick them, but I don't see a situation where they would.
Yeah.
With the Kristaps thing, I think the Mavericks might start Boban again just to have Gobert on him, but I don't know what that. It's still Kristaps has been so inconsistent with whoever it's been on him. But I guess I would take the Jazz if the Mavs won. I would say 5 or 6 probably. I think Luka will get a game where he goes off. But I'd go with you there with the Jazz. So we have Western Conference Finals for us is me. It's Suns Jazz regardless. For you, it's Suns and then the Clippers.
I wouldn't be disappointed with that series just because Rondo and CP3 going at each other for 7 games. That'd be interesting.
Well, CP3 getting revenge on the Clippers too. That would be pure entertainment. And then in the East, we have the Bucks and the Sixers, both of us. Correct?
Yes.
Yep. And I think that that's all. Second round preview. But Hawks and 76ers is tomorrow. Game 7, Mavs Clippers. Also tomorrow, and then rest of your second round games start Monday and Tuesday. But and George, let them know where we can find 2.5 Hoopers as always.
Of course, my favorite part of the podcast, shouting out my own. So follow us on Instagram and Twitter at @THHoopers, all lowercase. Find us on YouTube there as well, and wherever you get your podcasts. So you follow us on Instagram. Comment on one of our posts, we'll shout you out. As Josh knows, he is basically one of our more frequent commenters, and he's usually shouted out on our pod as well as being brought on. And we're trying to transition into have some more guests on, because as the playoffs go on, there's going to be less games to talk about. We just kind of want to have, collabs with some people, have more open floor podcasts, and just talk about whatever, since we won't have as much content to discuss. So yeah, find us there, follow us. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, if Frankie the Ace would just listen to an episode, he would
all he
have
has
it.
to do is listen. Just all he has to do
One
is scrub to the
episode.
end. Just go to the end.
It's-
The beginning, actually. We shut out in the beginning.
The podcasts are like an hour, Frankie. I know you don't listen to my podcast, but man, just an hour and you're on their pod, man. But yeah, you can find me J_sports_podcast. I do daily sports questions, all that. And if you like this, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Comment down some questions on Instagram or YouTube. I'd love to answer them. Follow me on Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. And until next time, this has been Joshua Nowakowski of the J Sports Podcast. Peace.